a lot of these people in prison have just never, when they say give people a second chance, a lot of them have never had a first chance because they've been dragged up in poverty, like I said earlier, been through the care system. They've never had a chance in life. They've been traumatized by what's happened to them. They turn to drink and drugs to drown out what's happened to them. And once they've got an habit, then they can't get off the drugs. So it's just a merry-go-round, and they just keep coming back. And when I was locking people up in HMP Leeds, they'd come to be getting released, and they'd say to me, "We'll see you in about 6 weeks then, Val." And I'd say, "You're joking, aren't you?" "No, please don't." And 99 times out of 100, they'd be back. And I just saw it was so sad. And for me and Steve to set this up and give these people an opportunity, they are so grateful and thankful. It is unbelievable. And the feeling that you get when you help to change someone's life, I can't describe to you. It's like soul filling. And like I said, we've been able to do it now for the 1,425. You get a feel falling out along the way, but you know what? A lot of these people, once they get given an opportunity, they turn out to be the best workers they've got. I think our last statistics showed that 1 in 5 get promoted within 12 months. That's how hard they work, because they go into the company, they think they're to prove themselves more than anyone else.
Welcome to the Wisdom We Share podcast, where ancient truths and modern intelligence weave together to inspire, ground, and shape us for a wiser, awakened life. I'm Anjani Amrit.
And I'm Robin Wald. And together we bring you fascinating conversations from the worlds of spirituality, science, and human behavior, so you can connect to your own inner wisdom, joy, and clarity, elevating the way you actually live your life.
Today's conversation is one that speaks to something deeper than leadership, business, or even personal development. It speaks to human potential when it's given a second chance. I'm joined by the incredible team behind Tempus Novo, a world-leading charity that's quietly transforming lives, communities, and the entire systems by doing something both simple and profound, helping people rebuild their lives through meaningful employment. Founded by former prison officers, Tempus Novo works directly with individuals who are committed to change, supporting ex-offenders back into real jobs with real support and real accountability. And the results speak for themselves. With a model that places people into sustainable employment and continues to support both employee and employer for at least 12 months, they're not just reducing reoffending, they are breaking cycles that have existed for generations. This conversation isn't just about rehabilitation. It's about something much deeper. What does it really take for a human being to change? What role does dignity, purpose, and belief play in transformation? And what happens when society stops defining people by their past and starts investing in who they can become? Today, we are really excited to have Val from Tempus Novo, one of the founders, join us. Val, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'd love to start off, if you could just share a little bit about what Tempus Novo is and how you started it and when you started it.
Yeah. So myself and a guy called Steve Freer worked in the prison service for around 30 years each. And we both had ended up in the same prison in HMP Leeds, where we met back in 1990. We went our separate ways within the prison. We still were aware of each other, but Steve was in one area, I was in another. Now and again, we came across each other. But it soon became apparent to me, after I'd been in the job, well, I'll go back a little bit. After I'd been in the job about 3 years, I thought to myself, oh, is this job really for me? I'm just locking people up, barking orders, telling people what to do, where to go. And there were very little job satisfaction, but I had a thought. I thought to myself, do you know what? If I could just stop one person coming back to prison by something I say or do or some actions that I take, I thought that'd be something really special. And together with Steve now, we've managed to do that for 1,428 people so far.
Wow.
But the beauty about that is only 40 of the 1,428 that we've placed into work have actually gone back to custody after working with us for 2 years, which is staggering compared to the national statistics, which are up to 45% reoffend within 12 months of leaving prison, and up to 60% of people reoffend within 2 years of leaving prison. And ours is less than 3%. So it's absolutely amazing. That it tells me that work actually works. So while we were on this journey, so after being in Leeds for quite a number of years and speaking to thousands and thousands of lads, because it was a male adult prison, you soon realise that these people come from poverty and nothing much else, really. That's what they're guilty of, unfortunately. And that when you speak to them, and they come into prison and they quite willingly go down working down a hot, sweaty kitchen, doing 6-7 days a week, 12-hour shifts, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, a bit like you want, Johnny, and getting paid £15 a week, but loving what they do and quite willing to get up and work hard. And I used to ask them, I used to say, why the hell? You do this in prison, you get on well with staff, you get on well with your peers. Why can't you do that on the out? And the stock answer coming back was, have you ever tried getting a job with a record like mine, Val? And unfortunately, I've actually witnessed them writing in them days 150 to 200 letters to 150 to 200 companies around Yorkshire, and being honest in the letter, because by law they have to declare, and not getting one answer. And that was just a massive blow to them, because they knew when they were released, they have no chance of getting a job, so they're going back to crime. It's as simple as that. And we set them up to fail. And also,
yeah.
go on.
Oh, I was going to ask, so it sounds to me like it would be very, very important for your organization to have relationships with employers who are willing to engage the services and stand by I don't know what you call them in the UK.
Ex-offenders.
Ex-offenders. Yeah. So can you give us an example of some of the organizations that you place people in and what types of jobs are available?
Okay, no. So just going back to the beginning, just quickly. So obviously, like you say, we've got to find some employers that will take these on, because they've wrote to all these companies. So me and Steve went out into Leeds, first of all, where we set up. Got 2 companies. We knew, Steve knew one of them personally quite well, and said, would you be interested if we put 12 months support in place, not just for the individual that we place, but for the employer as well. That's it. That's the important bit. The support is for both. And to our surprise, 2 companies took us on, and within about 5 or 6 weeks of placing a person in each of those companies, they were ringing us up saying, have you got any more people like this? Is best worker I've got. And then that grew and grew, and then they'd recommend us to one of their friends in another company. And we've now got companies such as John Lewis, Amazon, GXO Logistics, Maersk. We've got massive national companies who are working with us. The jobs vary. It can be a few in construction, a lot in logistics. Logistics is a massive growing economy in this country. You know, people are buying online all the time and having them delivered to the homes, and it's enormous. And I think out of the 1,425, we've probably placed 600 to 700 of those people in logistics across around 32 to 40 sites across the country. So yeah, so there's construction, there's manufacturing, there's bread making, there's window cleaning, lots and lots of different. It's all quite basic skills work, to be honest, initially, because it's a fact that 70% of people in prison have the writing of the literacy and numeracy of a 12-year-old. And that's a fact. 30% of the people in prison have been through the care system. Now, that is quite sad, because when I listen to some of the lads that have been through the care system, it's totally not the care system and the opposite to that. And some of the things that tell me, it's just like heartbreaking. And these people are traumatized. A lot of them obviously haven't had parents around, so they're lacking love, if truth be told.
If you are listening to this podcast, you are likely committed to personal growth and open to new and interesting perspectives that you can integrate into your daily life. One amazing way to expand your awareness of your wants, needs, patterns, and goals is through what I offer as a cosmic wisdom coach. A professional natal, transit, or relationship astrology reading can help you make sense of your life and choices through an evolutionary and archetypal lens. Impactful one-on-one coaching supports you to tap into your own resourcefulness and problem solving. I am so honored to partner with you for your growth, well-being, and success. You can learn more or book a session at www.robinwald.com. Use code WISDOM to receive a Wisdom We Share listener discount on any service. You can also sign up for my mailing list to receive useful monthly cosmic wisdom teachings. Do you have certain standards of who's allowed to apply for your program in terms of the kind of conviction they had? Like, do you take just nonviolent offenders, or can anybody be rehabilitated and placed into employment?
Well, I dare say, well, but what we've found is, when we've asked companies, because before we started doing it, we'd done some work with employers and asked them what type of people would you and wouldn't you take. So we came to a conclusion. We've been running now since 2014, by the way, so we're not just a flash in the pan. And most employers expressed that they would not take sex offenders, arsonists because of the increase in insurance premium, murderers, or anyone connected to terrorism. So that's the only type of offences that we don't work with. We work with anything else other than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what would you say have been your biggest challenges? Because I would imagine, well, I know there's such conditioning that we have around people who have been incarcerated. We have a certain idea or belief about these people. What's the biggest challenge that you think needs to be overcome in people's minds around rehabilitating these people, and, like you said, offering them love, offering them support, offering them nurturing and nourishing, that generally people need to overcome in their own minds in order for this to be able to be rolled out more quickly, more widely? What would you say?
I think the problem you've got is the stigma, obviously. I know when people, if you look at any prisons in this country anyway, for instance, they look terrifying. I worked at HMP Leeds, which nickname is Armley. It's called the Hanging House on the Hill.
Oh,
and they actually executed 97 people there. They hung 97 people. And I saw where the gallows was and where the drop door was and everything. It's horrific. It's back in Dick's days. So the stigma, and when people look at the prisons built in the Victorian times, or most of them, all they see is people who want to hurt them: murderers, rapists, paedophiles. They imagine the worst. What my answer really is, dear, if we can change the public perception of people behind the walls, which is what I've just been talking about, because they straight away, since they've been in prison, somebody thinks straight away that someone's there going to hurt you. either rape you, be a paedophile, any of those what I've just mentioned. And if we can get the message out there that actually a lot of these people in prison have just never, when they say give people a second chance, a lot of them have never had a first chance because they've been dragged up in poverty, like I said earlier, been through the care system. They've never had a chance in life. They've been traumatized by what's happened to them. They turn to drink and drugs to drown out what's happened to them. And once they've got an habit, then they can't get off the drugs. So it's just a merry-go-round and they just keep coming back. And when I was locking people up in HMP Leeds, they'd come to be getting released and they'd say to me, "We'll see you in about 6 weeks then, Val." And I'd say, "You're joking, aren't you?" "No, please don't." And 99 times out of 100, they'd be back. And I just saw it was so sad. And for me and Steve to set this up and give these people an opportunity, they are so grateful and thankful. It is unbelievable. And the feeling that you get when you help to change someone's life, I can't describe to you. It's like soul-filling. And like I said, we've been able to do it now for the 1,425. You get a feel falling out along the way, but you know what? A lot of these people, once they get given an opportunity, they turn out to be the best workers they've got. I think our last statistics showed that 1 in 5 get promoted within 12 months. That's how hard they work, because they go into the company, they think they're to prove themselves more than anyone else. And they just turn out to be fantastic workers.
And what happens in their family as well? Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, it's straight away. So what we do now, I think it's really important that we try and keep, as well as keep in touch with them for 12 months and the employer that's supervising them, we also try to have a member of the staff, a member of their family that we can keep in touch, either a brother or a sister or a wife or a mum or a dad. And the effect on them is like, just again, so when we've changed 1,425 people's lives, you could probably multiply that by 3 or 4 for the families' lives that's been changed as well. Because I can remember a lad who said to me, he hadn't spoken to his dad for 11 years because he'd been in and out of prison for 11 years. And once he realised he'd got a job, he got back in touch with him, started speaking to him, started going golfing and taking him out for meals and things like that. And it was just, like I said, it's not just life-changing for that individual, it's for the whole of his family as well, brothers, sisters, and friends as well. Because we've had people come to us, we've helped them. About 4 or 5 weeks down the line, somebody knocks on our door. Is there any chance I could have your help? So who's referred you? So no one's referred me. A friend of mine came and you got him a job, and he's been in a job ever since. He said, we've had quite a few people come to us like that, which again it's getting the word out there really that there are organisations, but like Tempus, Novo, but we are few and far between. We have had some interest from the States, strangely enough, in Virginia, by George Mason University, are doing some work on us now at the moment, doing some research on why we are so successful. And apparently it's been tried in the States and it's not as successful, or it's a lot more expensive. It costs us as a charity £3,000 to get someone, get him sort of work ready, if you like, make sure he's got all his right to work documents in place, then place him in work and support him and the employer for 12 months. That costs Tempus Novo £3,000, which is really cheap if you think about it, for 12 months support as well. It costs, if the alternative to that is, it goes back into prison and it costs this country £57,000, which is ridiculous. It's a no-brainer. Why aren't we helping more of these people into work? As a government, why aren't we doing it? And I know the States really needs a Tempus Novo.
I was actually wondering whether you're aware of any organizations in the States that does this type of post-incarceration, job placement, job training, rehab, and has anybody reached out to you besides the George Mason University for research, which is amazing, by the way? Congratulations. they're
thank you.
interested and that they're studying what you're doing. But do you have any collaborations in the States or in other countries?
We had one in Australia for a little while as well, which seemed to have fizzled out. It's just so we had the Australian Prison Service ringing us, and we had a few Teams calls with them, and they were really keen. But I think it's a case of, you know, they were going to try and do it themselves. But the problem is, if I'm honest, and even in the English prison service, we've got an organisation called New Futures Network, which was set up after meeting Steve and I in London. We got taken to London and asked, could we tell them all about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, where we do it? And then a guy from policy and government went away and set up an organisation called New Futures Network, and they tried to copy what we do. And they do it quite badly, if truth be told. And because when you're working as a civil servant, it's a job. And when you knock off at 4 or 5 o'clock, that's you finished. Tempus Novo's not like that. It's 24/7 for us.
Hey there, Anjali Amrit here. Quick pause before we get back to the conversation. If you're the kind of person who listens to episodes like this one and then sits with it, turns it over, asks yourself the harder questions, wonders what it would actually look like to live differently, this is for you. I've created something called Within for exactly you, the one who's not just consuming wisdom, but genuinely looking to integrate it, to actually change from the inside out. Within is a membership where we go deeper with practices, guidance, and a community of people who are serious about that inner growth, not in a heavy way, in a real, grounded, and sustainable way. It's where the doing happens, where you take what resonates and actually work with it in your own life. The doors aren't open yet, but the wait list is. First access and something special goes to everyone on it when we launch. If it's calling you, the link is in the show notes, www.anjaliamrit2eyes.com/within membership waitlist. Now, back to the conversation.
I'm wondering, you mentioned, people who have addiction issues or, I wonder how common it is, right, when people get back right into sort of their old life after they're released and they're with their old neighborhood and the same gang and the same people. It's very hard to stay on a straight and narrow path. And if addiction or substance abuse is part of that story of what you were engaged in the outside, it's very easy to fall back into that addiction trap. And I'm wondering if part of the support that you're offering or that the government offers to people who've been released, do they get any kind of services for addiction counseling or any other kind of therapy to help them with their trauma when they're on the outside?
I suppose there'll be an option for them to go for that, but we don't do anything with them on that, to be honest. That's another thing we rule out, actually. If they haven't been either alcohol or drug clean for a minimum of 6 months, then it's pointless working with them, to be honest, because as you've just been mentioning, once they get back into the bad world and back with the friends, it's so easy to drop back into them ways. But the support does help with that. And obviously every prisoner that leaves prison in this country has to report to probation as well. So they do have probation support, even though it's not very good, if I'm honest. At least there's someone there at the end of the phone. But if they get into work through us, then his caseworker is there basically 24/7.
And have you noticed, Val, that if you're working with people, because I would imagine that is a wonderful goal for them to reach for, some light at the end of that tunnel to actually get clean. If they can get clean, they can get a job and they can get themselves out of this cycle, because it sounds like there's not really much help for them to get out of the cycle. It's more promoting them to stay in it, to be honest, because let's face it, it's just not sexy, is it? It doesn't sell.
No.
And so what have you found in terms of the people who've come through your system for your charity who maybe have had a habit, got clean and got into employment? Can you think of any examples, any specifics?
There's lots of them, to be honest, and Johnny. There's lots of them who've had drugs issues and alcohol issues. We've had the odd ones fail as well, to be fair, open cards on the table. Some will fail. It's too much of a temptation. But even the ones that fail have come back and got themselves clean again and thought, I loved that 12 months that I had where I was drug clean, I was working. And once they've had a taste of it, because they might have been in the doldrums for 10, 15 years and don't know anything else, and they're in that mindset and they can't get out of it. Once they've had a little taste of it, even the ones that maybe fail tend to come back and try again. But yeah, there's not much help for them, to be honest, and it's a case of, you're going to have to help yourself here as much as you can. We're at the end of a phone for you. We can offer support as much as we can, but you're the person that has to do it, and you can talk till you're blue in the face to someone who's on drugs. And if he's not ready to change and don't want to stop taking them, then there's nobody in this world will make him do it unless he's ready to do it himself.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is like I said in the intro, what you're offering with Tempus Novo, which is a charity, I'll remind people. And if anyone is interested in supporting this charity, please, we'll put all the links in the show notes. Please reach out to either us or Val and Steve. Is that it doesn't have to be complicated. The solution is as simple as give someone a chance, give them a go, as they'd say in Australia, give them a chance to rejoin society, or as you say, to join society when they've been on the out all their lives, or they've been through care, when they haven't had love, nurturing, nourishment in the way most of us do. They don't necessarily need a complicated plan. They just need hope. And I think that's what you're giving them. What would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I can remember one lad in particular who'd been in work about 6 weeks, and he rang me up one day. He said, you know what? He said, I got on the local bus this morning. He said, it was early, at 5:30 in the morning. He says, and normally if I were getting on a bus at that time, I'd have been out up to no good. He says, and everybody would be looking at me. Sort of, oh, what's he been up to, He says, but I was there with my high vis, my work boots and all my stuff on. He says, and I'm looking around the bus and he thought, I've done it. He says, I'm back in society. He says, wow. He says, how good did I feel? And yeah, it's a terrible place for them to get out of. But once they get a taste of it, like I said, there's chance for them to stay out of it.
Yeah. I think psychologically, I've studied a lot of things that talk about like how does someone overcome depression or choices that are really undermining their lives, their health, their well-being, their success. And a lot of times it is about as simple as get a job, do something for someone else where you are being useful, you are being productive, your time is being used to contribute to something greater that is outside of yourself. And then that naturally leads to a sense of self-respect and dignity, which sounds like this person's experience on the bus was, I'm a dignified human being. Look at me. I'm heading somewhere that contributes and makes a difference. And I like that sense of self-respect is huge, because I'm imagining that being incarcerated is a place where a lot of your sense of dignity and autonomy and self-respect is stripped away. So that needs a chance to get rebuilt. So what you're doing is really tremendous in terms of helping people rebuild their inner world as well, not just earning a paycheck and staying away from crime because now they have financial resources, but even on an inner psychological, spiritual level, there's some real healing that can happen with work.
And I think, and I know you're quite spiritual, Anjani. I'm a little bit myself, really, because I've got a feeling that something, and I'm not sure what, up there is helping us because we're doing good and we're changing people's lives. We don't get as as dark side trying to stop us as well, by the way. But I think good will always conquer evil, and that's what we're seeing. Things happen which are really spooky sometimes. But it happens for a reason.
Go on,
And
give
it
us the
always-
example. Give us an example.
Well, one day we needed someone's advice really desperately. Me and Steve were coming back on the train from London. We'd been on about it as we were going down to London, and we needed to speak to a solicitor.
Mm.
And we're just trying to rack his brains who we can ask for it. And on the way home, a solicitor rang us out of the blue and said he'd seen our website and we thought, how the hell has that just happened? That's just one thing. I mean, there's been loads and loads of stuff, and I can't think of something else, but that was just one example. That a solicitor rang us after we'd been desperately seeking some legal advice. And while we were on the phone, then we just said to him, can we put this to you? And got some great advice. But there's been lots of things. Oh, good God. Some quite, spiritual, really.
Divine.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. I'm almost certain we are. Yeah. You can feel it.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And you can feel what you're doing as well, the authenticity and the integrity of it. And it's so rare in this world, isn't it? Because there's so many people in power who are just corrupt, and the systems are corrupt. And what's your biggest frustration? What's your biggest challenge? Without kind of pointing fingers or judging, but what is your biggest frustration or challenge right now in getting this out more into the world? Never mind the UK, but the world. What is it for you?
Yeah, well, starting in the UK, if we could even we are a charity. We have only just received, in 14 years now, our first little tiny amount of government funding, and it's through an innovative guy called Dan Price, who's the Police and Crime Commissioner of Cheshire. And he's commissioned us. He sought us out because he's looked at other organisations, not like us, but similar to us. And he's very astute because he soon realised that we are the best in this country. And he's commissioned us to do a project for him in Cheshire. What frustrates me more than anything, after working in prison service for 30 years and after knowing Lord Timpson, who's now the prison minister, and after congratulating him when he got the post of prison minister, and he's been in events talking like this, because he runs Timpson's, his family run Timpson's, and they were the first family organisation to start rehabilitating prisoners. They used to take people on 20 years ago, and Johnny, in their key cutting shops and shoe repair shops. So the family are a massive, and hats off to him for that and his father. But then he's been appointed as the prison minister, and we wrote to him and said, "Oh, congratulations, Sir James, on the appointment, and you're quite aware of Tempus Novo. Can we come and see you?" Me and Steve thinking, well, he's never run a prison. We ran prisons for 30 years. We now run this organisation called Tempus Novo, getting people into jobs. And basically, he sort of fobbed us off and said, "No, I ain't got time to see you." He didn't say, I'll see you in 6 weeks or come back to me in 3 months or anything like that. And I don't know what it is, because he's in charge of the prisons and he's well aware. And for me, if the government keep paying £57,000 to keep locking these people up, or give us £3,000 and we'll keep them out of prison. How frustrating is that? It's so frustrating. And the government need to get a grip. And same in the other countries. It'll cost similar amounts of money to keep people in prison. It's got to do, if not more, in some cases. So that's my biggest issue. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I want to kind of pivot slightly and then ask you, because the job that you're working in and what, like, obviously you're giving all of your heart and, best effort towards it, but it is frustrating. So I'm wondering, what do you do outside of this mission and this work that you've taken on to take care of yourself and to de-stress and to find joy and let that go so that you can just, kind of have those moments of peace for yourself? What do you do outside of that work?
If I'm honest, it's sport. I play badminton every Wednesday for an hour, every Friday for 2 hours. I've played football all my life, not at a very good standard, but a decent standard. And my sons played semi-professional, both of them. And then I got asked to play walking football. This'll be a good one for you. Walking football, what the hell's that? But it does exist, and it's been recognised by the FA in this country. So I got asked to play for this team in Barnsley, my old town, as and Johnny knows of. And I went to play for this team, and within a few weeks, about 3 or 4 months, I got asked to play for the North East Region team.
Wow.
So I went along and played for the North East Region team, and we went and played England. And we played England, and it's over 50s, over 60s, over 65, even over 70s. And I went and played a couple of their teams, the 65s and the 60s and the 65s, and we bet them. We bet the England team, and we scored 3 goals, and I scored all the 3 goals. So I got asked to play for England. So I went and trained with them. I ended up with an injury. I got my ankle, and I was out for weeks. But basically, I'm sort of on the edge of playing for England, for my country, at walking football.
Wow.
I go
That sounds
cycling.
fun.
Yeah, and I like to go for long walks and just sort of clear my mind and just, so that's how I do it. I play quite a bit of sport. I play table tennis a bit. I'm thinking of starting playing tennis. There's a local tennis club about half a mile from my house. So yeah, I think that's what I do, is mainly I throw myself at sport and exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's amazing. And I just want to point out something that may not be obvious to our listeners if you're only listening. So I'll ask the question. How old were you and Steve when you started Tempus Novo? How old are you both now? Because I don't know that people might not realize you both retired, I believe. You retired and then you started this charity. So can you divulge your ages? And
yeah, I retired from the service. We were trying to set this up whilst we were still serving prison officers, which was difficult because actually we got opposition from the prison service, believe it or not, even though we're trying to do their job for them. But that's by the by. So I was 59, 60, coming up to my 60th birthday, and we'd already set it up, but I sort of left the prison service then, and me and Steve did it. Steve's about 6 years younger than me, so he took early retirement to start doing this, and took a hit on his pension, actually, fair dues to him. And we started it. We didn't have a penny between us, so we just funded it ourselves for about a year to 18 months before we could get any funding in. And I'm 71 this year. So, yeah, I'm knocking on a bit, but I feel as though I'm still 41.
Well, all that sport is keeping you young and fit, clearly.
It has to do. Something has to do, yeah. And I've got a loving family and wife and everybody, and it's, it's all supportive. So, yeah, I mean, it's lovely, and like I said, it's so soul-filling, this, when you're helping to change people's lives. It just, it's hard to step away from, if I'm honest.
Because it's not a job, is it? It's a mission. It's a purpose.
It is. That's exactly it.
And that fuels everything. When you're on a mission, when you're doing good for people, it fuels us. It's like rocket fuel. We just continue on and on. And so what hope do you have, Val, for the future? I know you're overcoming lots of obstacles. I mean, the walls and barriers that you are daily pulling down is miraculous in itself. What hope do you have for the future?
I just hope that we can get some proper funding, if truth be told. So, because funding is a constant battle. Every day we're trying to think where to get more money from, and it's hard to come by. But my hope is that we can continue getting funding and continue growing, because we are growing. We're a growing organisation. There's about 16, 17 of us in the organisation now. It was just me and Steve to start off with. We cover quite a large chunk of Yorkshire, Cheshire, the Midlands of the country, and the North East slightly. So my hope is that we'll be able to cover more of the country, but government to funders, or someone with, a philanthropist who's got a lot of money who can just sling a few million quid at us and say, there you go, help. Because at £3,000 per person, that would help a lot of people to change their lives.
Yeah. What would you do if you had 3 million today? If someone just said, here's a check for 3 million, what would you do with it? How many people could you help?
Well, if you do the maths, if we just say really simply 3,000, I don't know what the maths is to 3 million, but it's not. What is that? I don't know. Is it 100,000 people? I'm not sure. Not that many, perhaps. 10,000 people's lives probably changed. I think it's probably 10,000. About 10,000 lives have probably changed with 3 million.
There's a teaching in the Talmud, in the Jewish tradition, and it says, if you save a single life, it's as if you saved the entire world. And It sounds like your organization has saved or changed at least 1,400 people's lives. And even the way you spoke about, well, that changes their families, it changes their community, it just expands like ripples outward and outward and outward. So every single life counts, every single success story matters, to not just to you, but to the person, and every person that person then influences and impacts for the rest of their lives. So it's really very sacred work that you're doing. And I do hope that our listeners, if you have any contacts, our listeners, to help Tempus Novo, and maybe some good important contacts in the government there, and get some conversations happening about how this work can really be expanded, and supported. It's really important. Thank you so much for spending time to tell us about what you're doing. And it is very hopeful, actually. Definitely shifted perspective that I have around what can be done, what's possible to be done. It's not hopeless. Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Thank you ever so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for joining us. This has been The Wisdom We Share.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Wisdom We Share podcast. We hope today's episode sparked some new insight, imagination, and practical tools you can integrate into your daily life.
Continue this journey with us by subscribing, sharing, and dropping us a review. Until next time, stay wise.